Back to your book, the third chapter is the real history of slavery.
Yes.
What is the real history of slavery?
The slavery was much bigger and involved infinitely more people than people have realized. It was not confined by race. It was not defined by race or created by race. It existed for thousands of years. A history professor had a student come up to him and ask him, well, when did slavery begin? And he said, you're asking the wrong question. The question is, when did freedom begin? Because slavery existed as long as we have any records. And from archaeological finds, we realize that people were enslaving other people before they could read and write. So that's always existed, and it's existed all over the world. The number of white people enslaved by pirates in North Africa was greater than the number of Africans brought to the United States. And yet that's not even mentioned in most of the discussion. So I tried to look at slavery as a worldwide phenomenon, and it's something that's lasted for thousands of years. I also tried to ask the question, why did it end? It ended here because of a civil war, but it didn't end anywhere else because of that. It took over 100 years to root it out. And again, the literature, there's tons. You can find the shelves groaning with books about the United States, the Western Hemisphere, and Africans, but virtually nothing about the rest of it. This book about the Europeans enslaved by North African pirates came out in 2003. By 2004, you couldn't find a copy. For all practical purposes, going out of print. There was just no interest in it.
What should this knowledge that you put in this chapter, what impact should that have on people who read it in this country? What impact do you want it to have on them?
Well, I guess I want them to understand what the facts are, which is a major undertaking in itself. And also to realize that racism in the United States grew out of slavery, but slavery didn't grow out of racism. The Europeans enslaved other Europeans for centuries before the first African was ever brought to the Western Hemisphere. That wherever there were people that were vulnerable for whatever reason, those were the people that were preyed upon. Even though for most of history, those who enslaved and those who were slaves were the same race.
Have you ever gone back and looked at your own family history?
Not really. No.
You have no idea where your folks came from originally?
No, I guess I don't know even the names of my grandparents.
On both sides?
On both sides. Partly it's because I'm an orphan, and so that there was that link was cut. But I really don't know the names of the people who would be my grandparents in the adoptive family either.
Did you ever know your original parents?
No, I have no. My father died before I was born. And my mother, I was so young that I have no memory whatever of her.